Guess what? Another JKD topic / question, which could be answered in 2 seconds, 2 minutes, or 2 hours. So thank God we have podcasts where I can force you to listen to me carry on for about 10 minutes. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast number 134. It says 132 there for some reason. This is the one about Jeet Kune Do. What kind of a martial art is it? So as you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching the final edit video over on the YouTube, when you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. And if you enjoy my work and you'd like to support the program, consider making a purchase over at JKD-rebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link and check out what we offer. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. All right, let me take a quick look and see if anybody joined me here. Mark Stewart, what right? Craig Stanton. Oh, that's a very nice thing for you to say, Craig. Hopefully I won't disappoint you today, right? Kevin Porter is here from Coronarsburg. So if anybody's been on the dialogue, either of these shows with me, you know that Kevin Porter was my student here in Miami, and he was always good. He was good for more things than just a good laugh, but he was always good for a good laugh. All right, so let's get serious. Let's get busy, as they say. So I got this question on Quora, where some of you know that I volunteered to answer questions on martial art and stuff. So sometimes when I'm answering, I like to take a look at what people would have found if they had done their own research online instead of asking a complete stranger a question. Because I wonder sometimes if it ever occurs to them that the people answering might not be qualified at all. They might be giving out ill-informed or even uninformed opinions instead of actual facts. So kind of like we get here on Facebook sometimes. I'm just kidding, right? But I digress. So I was kind of surprised to find that a Google search for types of martial arts. I think that if you put that in, types of martial arts, what it delivers is a list of names of different arts. And I'm surprised because to my way of thinking, there are only 2 types of martial arts. There are those that focus on the use of the empty hands, and there are those that focus on the use of weaponry. That's pretty much it when it comes to types of martial arts. And yes, I am aware that there are arts which focus on both. So no need to comment thusly, okay? Within empty hands, there are those which focus on striking and others which focus on grappling. Within striking arts, there are those whose focus is on punching and those whose focus is on kicking. And of course, there are those that focus on blending the two. And some of them, by extension, they consider elbowing to be part of punching, and they consider kneeing to be part of kicking. Within grappling, there are arts that do their thing, be it locking, controlling, throwing, taking down, whatever. They do their thing while staying on their feet, or at least in like a half squat or kneeling position. So we call that standing grappling. And then there are those which take the fight all the way to the ground. And of course, there are those that blend the 2 approaches. In weaponry, there are blunt or non-edged weapons, and there are edged weapons. There are solid weapons, there are flexible weapons. There are handheld weapons. There are weapons which are thrown. There are weapons which are projected. There are long weapons, middle length weapons, short weapons, one-handed, two-handed, and both-handed, because that's a word, right? Like Kali stick and dagger, that's both-handed weaponry, right? And then there's Jeet Kune Do. So you ask the question, what type of a martial art is Jeet Kune Do? I didn't look this up online because I didn't have that much time to spend. And that's where you run into a plethora of answers, depending on who you ask. You could ask people who actually trained with Bruce Lee, or you could ask the students of people who trained with Bruce Lee, or you could ask the students of the people who were students of Bruce Lee. You with me? You got that? Right? And in every case, especially nowadays, it's possible to get authoritative sounding answers from all those categories of people. And depending again on who you ask, you might get answers similar to what I just detailed there, or maybe even variations or combinations that I may have overlooked. If we look for, or we look at, what Bruce Lee said / wrote about his art, some will say that he talked mainly, if not only, about his art being an empty-handed one, right? So on pages 23 and 24 of the Jeet Kune Do commentaries, you will find, he says, the man who pulls a knife on you is clearly at a disadvantage. He will clearly lose the fight. The reason is very simple. Psychologically, he only has one weapon. His thinking is therefore limited to the use of that single weapon. You, on the other hand, are thinking about all your weapons. And then right under that, in a section titled Against a Man with a Club, we read, he's holding something with two hands. I mean, what's he going to do? Swing, thrust, jab? He's got a problem. As far as I know, that's pretty much what we can find in terms of Bruce Lee's writings about weaponry. And I'll be the first to agree that he seems relatively unconcerned about their viability, let's call it. And when you look at the fighting method book, so there's in the self-defense, I think it's volume 4 or at the end of the full volumes, right? You see these, because I found I kind of made the pictures myself, right? So here is, let's see. Okay, so here's the first one I want to show you. So this is Bruce Lee's 1966-67 approach to a guy pulls a dagger on you and he's holding it in heaven grip and you kick it out of his hand, right? That's one of them. The other one, here's another one. Let me get rid of this one. Here's another one, right? Again, the guy pulls a knife on you. You feint the eye jab to the high line to draw his attention high, and then you low kick him in the shin, knee, ankle area, or what have you, right? And then this is the one, I think I got to show you this in two parts. Again, the guy grabs a hold of you and he has the knife in his rear hand, so you trap the lead hand, you elbow wrench, and what we would call in Kali zone away to zero pressure, and then foot sweep him, drop him to the ground, and pummel him, right, with a heel stomp or something. So that's what I saw in Bruce Lee's fighting method against a weapon wielding attacker, right? Okay, cool. So he uses pretty simple methods, right, for counterattacking. If somebody was to say that this is the evidence that Jeet Kune Do is mostly, if not mainly, an empty-handed art, I'm not going to dispute them on that claim. But if somebody else were to say, well, I think that Bruce Lee just didn't get around to a more in-depth look at weaponry, just like he didn't get around to an in-depth look, let's say, at ground fighting, right? I could see some validity in that. And since it's all the rage currently to postulate on Bruce Lee and his reactions to racism in Hollywood and America, I am going to do a little bit of that myself and say that based on his use in Enter the Dragon, more specifically, more than anything else, based on his use of the long staff, the Kali double sticks, and the infamous nunchaku. I think it's obvious that Bruce Lee devoted at least a little bit of time to weapons training, even if just to add some more dynamism to his on-screen skills. So who's to say where he might have gone had he lived, right? On page 23 of the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, this is what we read, and I'll finish my thoughts with this. It says, I hope martial artists are more interested in the root of all martial arts and not the different decorative branches, flowers, or leaves. It is futile to argue as to which leaf, which design of branches, or which attractive flower you like. When you understand the root, you understand all of its blossoming. All right, so that's it for me for today. Let me see, because I'm starting to have fun checking to see if anybody says anything that I should comment on immediately. Should we consider, hey, here, that's Ruben. Ruben's another, he was a classmate of Kevin Porter's. Should we consider strategy a martial art, as in military strategy, or is it just a component? No, strategy is a component of martial art. Strategy by itself isn't a martial art. No. Authoritative and sounding answers from different generations. Okay, Alex. A system should be complete, total range training, complete weapons training, pepper spray, blunt, blah blah blah. I didn't mean to say blah blah blah, George. It's just that I said blunt and it kind of rolled off my tongue. JKD lacks in some of these departments. I don't know that, well, yes. Okay, so we could say, George, that JKD lacks in some of these departments, but see, that's the thing. It's not the art, right? It's the people in the art. So I don't have as much handgun training as, say, somebody like Burt and Richardson. And if you look at Burt, you will notice that Burt pretty much has his hands and feet and head and elbows and knees in just about everything, right? So again, it's not the art, it's how people are applying the concepts and the principles of the art, I would say, George. He also said something about guns. Yeah, pretty much what Bruce Lee said is that doesn't matter how skilled you are in martial arts, if somebody pulls a gun on you, you're pretty much at a disadvantage, right? I did have lessons with Ted Wong on his personal use of stick and knife, but he did not call it JKD. Okay, that's fine. You don't actually have to call it JKD. Just like, yeah, Richard Torres' point out, Bruce Lee used knives in the Big Boss, right? Now, he didn't just use knives, he used double dagger from the Kali system, Richard. I'm just messing with you, right? Weapons are an extension of his JKD. If you understand the roots, you understand all the blossoms. Exactly. And what about the Way of the Dragon, where he used throwing spikes? Well, throwing spikes was obviously a cinematic conjecture to deal with the handgun, right? In Enter the Dragon, handguns were written out of the script, but they were included for gangster type people in Way of the Dragon. So the throwing spikes were a way to deal with that. Did Sifu Guru Dan not share his Filipino research with Sifu Bruce? I find it difficult to digest when Bruce is the one who's researched his roots, that Bruce is not introduced to Kali. Well, obviously there had to be some kind of introduction. The part about when Bruce was the one who suggested Dan research his roots, I've heard that expressed before. I'm not too sure that it was Bruce Lee who said that. My recollection is that it was actually Ed Parker, Sifu Dan's Kempo instructor, who suggested to him that he take a deeper look into Eskrima, as they called it. Okay, all right, so that's all I show there. Thanks for that interaction, guys. So feel free to share, like, and comment, and ask me questions if you want. I will review after posting. Sign up for notifications for when we go live here on Facebook. And like I asked you earlier, over on the YouTube, subscribe for the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast, for the Jeet Kune Do dialogues. And when you subscribe, make sure to hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. I love JKD-trained.com. Quick Skills Series Volume 1 available. Volume 2 will be produced sometime before the end of 2020. Coming up on Friday. So this is the Independence Day weekend. So I purposely didn't schedule anybody to sit with me in the Jeet Kune Do dialogues. But if any of you guys are lonely souls like me, and on Friday at 6 p.m. you want to come live, I'll come on live at 6. And if anybody wants to hang out with me and talk Jeet Kune Do, martial arts, Kung Fu films, since Alex Richter is here, right? I'm kidding, right? But if you got time and you're thusly inclined on Friday at 6, come hang out with me. Today is a black and white or gray day. There you go. This is actually one of my favorites. Not as favorite as anything that you ever made for me, Kevin Porter, right? So I'll see some of you maybe Friday at 6 p.m. Others of you, I'll see you back here next Wednesday for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care now. If you're going to train it slowly, but with the proper attitude. Yes. See? So I don't want to train it slowly, and because I'm thinking, okay, what the heck are my hands supposed to do? I forget how the body should look. See, because that's not going to translate into the feel of the whole thing. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Right? So because they're really, because this, let's call this one of the shortcuts to learning. Right? Even if I go slowly in the proper position. Right? It's like kicking. Okay, so I don't have the flexibility. I'm working on flexibility. But I don't kick low like this. I kick low with the proper form, so that as I continue to work on flexibility, when I can kick higher, I kick with the proper form. Right? So even if you go slowly, still be mindful of what you're doing. Right? And what? Yeah. And right, yeah, see, because if I look around the room and I see you, whatever, now I know you're not being mindful. You see, so then I got to stop and go, be mindful. Right, and really, I mean, if you hopefully you didn't drive over here aimlessly, right? Like the car knows it's Saturday morning, I'm going to the academy, it goes automatic, right? Hopefully you were mindful coming over here. I don't know. I hope. Okay, all right, go again.